Happy Friday! It's the Prop Queen Pod. It's going to be me and Mid-Major Matt today. Mid-Major Matt going to talk to us about some college football. Big game last night, by the way. I also have NBA prop edges for tonight's slate. There were a bunch of really good spots to attack some props in the NBA tonight. NFL, I'll also recap some of my favorite wildcard plays for offensive player props at the end of the show. It's probably going to be like that 30 to 45-minute range of a show today. So anyone who's tuning in now, welcome. This Friday couldn't come soon enough. I felt like this week was so long. Maybe it's because we didn't really have Monday football. We did have Thursday night football, but just not in the NFL. Last night's game was incredible, by the way. Congratulations to the Miami Hurricanes. You guys advancing to the championship game of the college football playoff. Tonight, Oregon is taking on Indiana, who everybody in this chat yesterday said is a resounding number one. I don't know about that. I sniff a dog. Yesterday's game, though, was great. Miami ends up winning 31-27. Miami, I think, was the popular side, but Ole Miss ended up making it a really fun second half. The fact that Chambliss was able to essentially drive downfield so quickly in the second half of that game was incredible. Carson Beck, as Mark Zeno came on yesterday and said he went over his passing yards prop, which was in the 220 range. He had 268. Lacey, that was a funny one too, because yesterday when we had propaganda, John Ewing of BetMGM said that Lacey's rushing yards prop, the under, was the most bet on prop of the day yesterday, and he ends up going over. That one was pretty telling. Miami team total over did cash for Mark Zeno yesterday by the skin of his teeth, but we hit it. Great job by Carson Beck running that football into the end zone too at the end of the game. I really thought that maybe there was a chance Ole Miss had at the end of the game there, even with 18 seconds. It was pretty crazy. Miami ends up winning that game and advancing to see if they're going to play Indiana or Oregon. Indiana, wait, I forgot who came on the show, but a few weeks ago, a guest said it was value on Miami making it in the championship. I want to say it was Steve, but not sure. I know you are talking about, no, it was actually from VSiN. It was, oh my God. Now I'm blanking. Who do we have on the show? Hi, guys. Hi, everybody. I'm so annoyed at myself right now. Will Hill. It was Will Hill. Will Hill came on. And he said, Will Hill from VSiN came on the show before the playoffs began. That was the week before the playoffs began. Shout out to Will Hill. He came on the show. He said not only did he like Miami in the first game of the season, of the college football playoff, Will Hill also said that he liked a long shot on Miami to win it all. Which could be live if what happens tonight happens. I think Oregon keeps it close. I think Oregon ends up giving Indiana a run for their money and potentially having a chance to win. Oregon's down to 3.5. The public is heavy on Indiana tonight. Heavy. I mean, we're talking like 80% of action. I'm going to go over to John Ewing right now, see if he has any updates on tonight's college football playoff. We've got a lot in the NFL he's talking about. NFL wildcard. I'll get you NFL wildcard betting in a second. BetMGM right now actually moved Indiana to 4. Oh, no, sorry. It opened at 4 and it went against them to 3.5. Yeah, that makes sense. 74% of bets, 52% of handle is on Indiana tonight. And you know what we call that? A fishy line. Now, typically a fishy line would move by a full point when the public's on one side, but we're going to call it a fishy line because the book is moving against Indiana, and it's the most public side of the week of this semifinal. In this chat yesterday, I got roasted for saying that this year in college football, there wasn't like an Alabama and Ohio State, a Georgia that was super dominant, where you go into it and say, oh, it's their year. Now, Indiana's been amazing. Don't get me wrong. They have. But it's a fishy line with that line moving against them and the public on them, the heaviest side of the day. Just be careful of Indiana tonight. And of course, if you sure, the line's moving. Let's get to propaganda because Matt's going to come on. We'll talk college football. We will talk NFL props. And then he has to go because he has his show. He's actually but first, okay, what a month for Miami Hurricanes. BR Betting said, we were talking about the Will Hill number, and he didn't get 100 to 1, but he did, I think it was like 14 to 1 is when Will Hill gave it out. Look at what BR Betting posted about Miami. 100 to 1 to win the college football playoff minutes before the selection show. 2 underdog wins, 1 over defending Natty champs. Game-winning drive to head to the Natty, and then first team to ever play for the Natty at home. Here's the thing. If Oregon upsets Indiana tonight, I think Miami could have a good shot. But after that game that Miami just played, if Indiana ends up beating Oregon, I am worried about Miami facing Indiana. Someone at Hard Rock, Sean Michael said, has 150 to 1 ticket. Oh, the books won't like that. I'm so curious. I would have to ask John Murray because you would think they don't want to pay out. A lot of people probably do have Miami futures. It was enticing. There's a lot of Miami homers out there. But you also have just so much of the bets probably on Indiana throughout this playoff. So I'm curious who the books would like to win it all. And don't forget that Lane Kiffin got paid $500K for Ole Miss making it to the college football playoff semis. $500K to make it to the semis is insane. Someone also had the 100 to 1. Oh, I see. Champs. No, that ticket. Oh, no, it's a winner. You're right, Sean, the winner to 100 to 1 at Hard Rock. The also crazy part is that they covered the 3. So that's pretty insane. What'd you say, Craig? Miami has not faced Mendoza, but Chambliss will make a great pro quarterback. Yeah, and then he has to go to the draft because I saw that they denied his eligibility. So he's going to have to go to the draft. Let me get to some propaganda real quick because we do have the most bet on player props for tonight's game from over at BetMGM. Let's get to propaganda. These are the most bet on props over at BetMGM for tonight in the college football playoff. Mendoza over his passing yards. Oh boy. Charlie Becker over 44.5 receiving yards. Dante Moore over 224.5 passing yards. Dear Hill Jr. over 41.5 rushing yards. Fernando Mendoza over 1.5 passing touchdowns. Most bet players to score an anytime touchdown. Elijah Sarrett plus 110. Omar Cooper plus 145. Roman Hemby plus 120. Mendoza plus 260. And Noah Whittington plus 120. If you believe in the public, then you could take their side. But if you like to be on the side of Vegas and the side where the public's normally wrong, where the most bet on props are, you can fade any of these. Oregon money line sounds like fun tonight. I don't know. What do you guys think in the chat? Can you put NBA most bet props when you get a chance? Yes, J-Main, I will. I have to see if BetMGM posts them is the problem. It's very hard to know what's going on in the NBA when the NBA doesn't know what's going on in the NBA. I'll see if BetMGM posted anything about their NBA props, but I don't think I saw them yet. Oh, they just posted it an hour ago. Most bet on player props in the association tonight. And then in about a minute, Mid-Major Matt's going to pop on. So we'll talk more college football playoff with him. Most bet on player props in the NBA. Jalen Johnson over assists and rebounds. Rishashire under 1.5 3-pointers made. Okongwu over 23.5 points and rebounds, minus 175. Anthony Black over points and assists. Oubre under 3.5 rebounds. They're always so obscure. These props are so obscure. Like, why are people betting this? Jalen Johnson, I understand. There are a ton of NBA injuries today, by the way. I'll go through them. And for anyone that is a Prop Queen newsletter subscriber, I'm going to put the newsletter out right after the show. I have to finish it. I have all the props. I just need to write it into the newsletter. It took me a while today. And I had to get my nails done because this nail ended up chipping. Just some quick injuries in the NBA, and then Matt just popped in, and he only has 20 minutes, so we got to get to him quick. Jalen Suggs is out. Franz Wagner's still out. Joel Embiid is probable. SGA is out. Chet Holmgren's out. Isaiah Hartenstein's out. John Morant's out. Cedric Howard's out. Denver, everyone's questionable. So, like, literally, the whole rotation's questionable. Josh Hart's still out for the Knicks. Alperen Şengün is out for Houston. Those are the most notable injuries I saw. But we'll get back to some NBA. Yeah, Trae Young's out, too. He's on the plane going to D.C. to somehow play mid-major Matt's Washington Wizards. Mid-major Matt coming on the show. Is there hype? Is there hype that you guys just got Trae Young?
Wait, hold on a second. I am not a Wizards fan. I'm a Sixers fan.
No, I know, but you live in like that DC area.
No, there's no hype. They're going to sit him until they can trade him, or they're just going to sit him to make sure they don't lose their draft pick. I learned that they have a top 8 protection for that selection. They're not going to risk that. So no, Trae Young is going to do very little for the Wizards, I imagine.
Well, we'll talk about college football. Oh, Richard downgraded to questionable, by the way, since we just talked about him in propaganda. So in case anyone cares, we care about the college football playoff. Last night was an incredible game. I want to obviously ask you about tonight. That's what people care about. But just give your final thoughts on last night's game.
Last night was a great what-if game. What if Lane Kiffin never leaves? What if Miami catches one of the 17 interceptions that they dropped last night? What if Kawan Lacey doesn't get hurt after his touchdown run? So it was a great what-if game last night. But as I said on the show, I think I said on Monday, I said last week, Miami's the most talented team in the country. Best roster in the country. They are not the most complete team because I don't love their head coach. I love Kurt Cignetti more. That's why I say Indiana is the more complete team than Miami is. But like Miami's roster is no joke. They're awesome everywhere. And they played once again last night. Now the question is this week, how healthy are their defensive guys going to be? There's a lot of defensive guys who got injured in that game last night. But Miami we saw last night that this transfer portal is a great thing because the quarterback coming from Georgia led them to a victory, and he threw to a freshman. It's crazy because who knew that there was actually high school freshmen anymore? But Miami just looked like a better team last night, and they deserved to get the victory.
It was still a great game in the second half. So shout out to Ole Miss, and Chambliss is going to have to go to the draft now. Miami, are they going to be a true contender if it is Indiana? And don't worry about the handicap of this game yet. I'm just saying, if it was Indiana, is there a chance for Miami, or do they really need to root for Oregon?
No, 100%. I would say Miami could beat either of them.
I mean, they've got a home field-ish.
Well, I mean, they will. It'll be slightly more fans there for them, but I'm not going to count it as home field because it's going to be, I'll say 60-40. Because they're going to give a lot of seats.
Yeah, they give tickets away. It's still expensive. It's not like, oh, we're in Miami. It's close. Let's go. It's still a championship game that costs a lot of money.
The question is, can Miami overcome the coaching mismatch? That's my question. Miami has the better roster. I said it. Miami, if you take Miami's team and Indiana's team and put them up against each other, I'd take Miami's roster. But you don't believe in
Cristobal versus Cignetti, or is it like Oregon? If they do happen to upset them, then Cignetti has a chance, then Cristobal has a chance.
Well, I like Dan Lanning too. I really like Dan Lanning. I think that's 2 top 5 coaches that are coaching against each other tonight. So I think the coaching advantage, no matter what, goes to the other team in that game against Miami. Oregon's got as much speed probably as Miami does, but it'll be interesting to see. This game tonight's so fascinating. It is so.
I want to hear your thoughts on it because a lot of people who I respect in the industry like Oregon. I just, from a numbers perspective, like Oregon. I mean that because I always talk about fishy lines. The most public side this week in the playoff is Indiana. People are starting to really buy in that Indiana is this dominant, this amazing. When the narrative starts to shift and people start to believe, I tend to go the other way. How about you?
So I really wanted to play Oregon this week. That was my first play, and I was hoping it was going to go up because I thought the excuse me, I thought the betting public was going to bet on the Heisman and the Coach of the Year and be like, oh, yeah, and the number one seed. We always bet on number ones. But unfortunately, the line's coming down a little bit. It's gone down. It's 3 pretty much across the board. There might be 1, 3.5 out there if you're interested in that. I wanted to bet Oregon, but the line's just not giving me the value here. Last night I took the first quarter under in this game. They're 2 of the top 20 first quarter defenses in the country. I don't like that as much now because we're indoors. If you look traditionally at the Peach Bowl or the Chick-fil-A Bowl that's played in this building, you're going to see a lot of points. We're going to be on the fast turf. Oregon has so much speed that I think they're going to break at least 1 or 2 explosives tonight on Indiana. Tonight is going to be kind of somewhat like last night, in that I think it's going to be the matchup of the explosives of Oregon and against the tough, hard yards of Indiana. Indiana's going to run the ball more. Oregon's got some injuries at running back. Their number 1's out. Their number 2 is questionable for this game. Indiana is perfectly fine with just going 1st and 10, 2nd and 5, 3rd and 3, first down. Like, they're perfectly fine with that. Whereas Oregon, I feel like, wants to expand the field more and wants to have the over for Dante Moore's longest completion be on like the 1st or 2nd play. So this game, much like last night, which was also the case, Miami's one of the slowest teams in the country. They had no problem running the ball, whereas Ole Miss is one of the faster teams in the country, and they wanted to expand. So last night was kind of a blueprint for how tonight's going to go. This is a very tough one. This one feels like a live betting situation for me. If it starts slow, like I'm hoping, I'm betting the over once again, like last night, because last night it was 3-0 at the end of the first quarter, and then we saw the offensive explosion the rest of the game.
Yeah, especially in that second half. It was a crazy second half. We did have a question yesterday, and I don't know if he's here in the chat or not, but Adam said, Adam1282, he said, I'm in Ohio. I can't bet on individual college player props, but I can bet on team total rushing yards, team total receiving yards. Any suggestions?
So I like it. You have to do a lot of research on the defenses, what they, we talk about on this show, pass funnels, run funnels. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are pass funnels. You want to throw it on them all day, stuff like that. So you want to kind of get the tendencies of the defense and decide like which way you want to take advantage for this matchup. And so, like, I don't know how successful Oregon's running game is going to be. The other complicating factor for rushing yards is sacks count as negative rushing yards. Whereas in the NFL, it doesn't. In college football, it does. So, like, you have to now think about, all right, is either quarterback going to get sacked a lot? Is that going to tank some rushing yards? I would think Indiana's going to have a little bit more success running the ball, only because Oregon has a very good secondary. So I would think if you're going to, and I don't know the numbers, I haven't seen what the numbers are, but I would think Indiana's going to rely on the run a little bit more than Oregon, who is down to potentially their 3rd running back for tonight. And plus, Dante Moore is going to probably take a couple sacks, which will then hurt that number even more.
You're mentioning certain players. I know not everyone could bet on college football playoff player props. Who would be a player that you would focus on tonight for whether it's an over or an under?
I would think that so this is tough because I think, Fernando Mendoza is going to be interesting tonight. I think we might see him run the ball a little bit. He is a guy that has the mobility, and I think he won't get sacked as much. And his number is 22.5. Now, once again, this is not, if you were to play something like this is nothing more than a little bit of pizza money. If that, I don't know. I don't look at the player props as much, especially for these huge games, because I can't bet them here anyway. So, but I do know that Mendoza's got mobility, and I do know this pass rush is tough. And so I do know he's not afraid to run out of the pocket. We saw Carson Beck last night. Carson Beck's number was like 3.5, and he went over that in the first play that he ran. So, like, I think Mendoza is not going to be afraid to run tonight. I might look at his rushing total potentially on the over.
We talked propaganda earlier on the show. These are the most bet on props tonight, according to BetMGM. Mendoza over passing yards, Becker over receiving, Moore over passing, Hill Jr. over rushing, and Mendoza over 1.5 passing touchdowns. Which of these would you fade?
So, without knowing what Noah Whittington's status is for Oregon tonight, he's the questionable running back. Like, if we get an idea on whether or not he's going to play, De'Aaron Hill would become the number 1 running back. And so 41.5 would be an interesting number because you're getting a number 1 running back on a team that can run the ball, won't probably run it as much, and you're getting a low number. The problem is, for as fast as we figure it out, the books will figure it out. And if he is the number 1 running back, that 41.5 will be gone. It'll be like 50.5, whatever. So you're really taking a shot. If you think Noah Whittington's going to play, maybe you're looking at an under here for Hill. And if you think he's not going to play, maybe you want to take an over, but we don't know. He's questionable for the game. I like Charlie Becker. I really like Charlie Becker. He's been a revelation towards the end of the season for Indiana. We all talk about Omar Cooper and Eli Surratt, but Charlie Becker has been the guy that we've seen a lot of huge catches from Mendoza. So, like, I like their chemistry. I don't mind that number of 44.5. I think that's a decent number.
Let's switch over to the NFL. NFL playoffs starting tomorrow at the wild card. We do have the first game on the slate, which is a huge spread, 10.5. Panthers hosting the Rams, Rams laying it. Packers, Bears also tomorrow night, a closer game with a shorter spread. Any player props that stand out to you?
So tomorrow, the weather takes center stage. In Charlotte, we've got a chance for light rain, but massive wind gusts. I'm looking here at like 20 to 25 mile per hour wind gusts. And if you combine that with rain, like, I like my field goal props, but that's not good weather for either of them. Not to mention Carolina and the Rams don't allow a lot of made field goals. So that kind of plays into there. And then, of course, Chicago, like, obviously, with the weather in Chicago with snow, and it's supposed to feel like 9 degrees, and there's supposed to be wind there too. I would be very concerned about that stuff there. I'd be looking at rushing attempts for like Monangai and Swift and Jacobs. Jacobs says he has not felt fresher in a while in this season. And so, like, I think the Packers are going to rely heavily on Jacobs, and I think the Bears are going to rely heavily on their ground game. I might look at the under on the longest reception for both Love and Williams. Both of them are guys that have either gone well over it or well under.
You mean
it.
Longest pass?
Yeah, longest completion. Yes, my apologies. I forget what I said, but I would almost look at the under there with the way the weather's going to be. And you know how it goes when it goes to snow. You either have these long receptions because the corner falls down or the wide receiver falls down. So, like, I have a feeling if we get the weather we're projecting here, we're going to see a lot of running, and we're going to see not as much passing with two quarterbacks that we know can be, problematic at times.
Sunday, Bills, Jags, Niners, Eagles, Chargers, Pats. It's your Eagles. Anything stand out to you there?
I've been taking the Eagles team total under like all season, it feels like, because their offense is just not explosive.
It's amazing how things have changed, because team total overs in Philly for the last 2 years were great, especially 2 years ago.
Well, yeah, they had a good offensive coordinator. They had one last year, Kellen Moore, but that last year, all they did was run the ball. I'm seeing now on DraftKings, you can get 26.5 at minus 125 to the under. Until I see the Eagles consistently score points, even against bad defense. This is 49ers have a terrible defense. Until I see them consistently go over that sort of thing, I'm never going to take their over. The Eagles should destroy the Niners. They should, because the Eagles have the better defense. The Eagles have the better offense. I know that there's McCaffrey and I know that there's Kittle. But this is a game where Jennings and the other outside wide receivers shouldn't do very much. Cooper DeJean locks down the slot, and Quinyon Mitchell, unless Jennings lines up on the opposite side from Mitchell, because Mitchell's more of a boundary corner than a following corner. I don't know how the 49ers do a lot, which makes me think that Kittle could be involved. To me, this also feels like a Dallas Goedert game. Dallas Goedert, I think, should have some success across the middle against the Niners. The Niners are starting like their 17th and 18th linebackers on their depth chart here. The problem is also the Eagles don't take advantage of these sort of things. The Eagles played the Bears when the Bears missed all their starting linebackers, and they just didn't do what they were supposed to. They didn't throw to Goddard in that game. And so, logically, it makes a lot of sense for Dallas Goedert to have a huge game here, but our OC's an idiot. So I can't, take that. Other than that, the other two games.
You haven't listed any kicker props.
Well, see, but the problem is we got a lot of weather situations. There's a lot of weather, especially tomorrow, that's going to complicate things. I mean, look, Houston, Pittsburgh, that game's going to be filled with field goals. Let's be completely honest there. I mean,
Boswell's going to need to redeem himself, because he was literally inches away from being the most hated person in Pittsburgh.
Pretty much. Houston allows almost 2 field goals per game attempted on the road, and Pittsburgh allows over 2 field goals per game at home attempted. So, like, to me, that fair, and we're getting Fairbairn and Boswell, like 2 of the most reliable guys. Now, obviously, the weather will be a little bit of a problem. I mean, it's Pittsburgh at night. It's going to be a little cold. There might be a little bit of wind, but like, if you ask me, like, 2 guys that I would want to play any sort of field goal props with, it would be those 2 guys. So I think most of my field goals are coming. I'll have to look at the numbers. Occasionally, sports books offer like an over-under on field goals made for the weekend. Might have to look at the under.
Not even the game, just the weekend.
Yeah, I might look at the under. It depends on how it breaks down. If there's one for tomorrow, I'll definitely look at the under for tomorrow with all the weather issues and stuff like that. But I might look at the weekend. DraftKings occasionally has something like that. I think the Score occasionally has something like that. But I don't see a lot of field goals, especially tomorrow with the way the weather's going to play.
Yeah, weather a factor for sure. Is it so you said weather throughout the weekend? Are there games in particular you're waiting to bet because of weather, or you just like, are you waiting to bet everything?
Well, no, I mean, that's not, I'm really waiting. I mean, tomorrow, I think we're not going to see much of a difference. I mean, I think the weather forecast for tomorrow is the weather forecast. Foxborough has traditionally been an issue. There's a little bit of wind there. It looks like a little bit of 10 to 15 mile per hour winds there, but like, you know, and they have a young kicker, if I remember correctly, right? It's Borregales. I mean, So he's a guy that, are you going to ask him to make a lot of field goals as a rookie in the playoffs? I don't know. So will New England go for it more? This is what we have to kind of consider now because things get a little bit tighter. And Buffalo, Jacksonville, like, I'm not even going to try that game. I feel like I don't know enough about Jacksonville other than they're the number 1 rushing defense and the Bills are the number 1 rushing offense, and they're just going to go at it. And I mean, maybe the Bills settle for some field goals, but who knows? That's the toughest game for me to kind of figure out.
Well, Kelly and I filled both of our Splash Sports Survivor contests. I've been asking my guests this week for their Survivor pick of the week. So, Matt, who is your Survivor pick of the week?
So this is just, and I would not be able to use them for the rest of obviously it's 1 per week.
Correct. So you can't use them to win the Super Bowl.
Eagles.
Okay. Eagles win this week. I like them. I mean, the steam's on them. The number's gone. You can't bet them anymore. It was -3. Like, you can't bet a 5.5 anymore.
By the way,
it's Survivor, so it's fine.
I think I'm rooting for the Bears this weekend.
Oh, no.
Well, for the Eagles. So let me ask you this. Would you rather go to Chicago if you're the Eagles with revenge because the Bears, beat them up in Philly, or would you rather host the Rams who scare me to death?
Well, obviously the Rams scare you. They always play the Eagles hard.
Yeah, exactly. And Sean McVay.
Yeah, obviously I think the Bears are going to lose this week because I don't think the Bears are good. So, of course, it's better for you to have to go face the Bears.
Right. And this is nothing. I know the Bears fans are going to get mad. I have mad respect for the Bears, but I have less respect for the Bears than I do the Rams. I'm scared to death of the Rams. I have a preseason Rams Super Bowl play that I made, but I just feel like for us, it would be a better matchup to play on the road in Chicago than it is against the Rams. Plus, I think the Rams have a better chance of beating Seattle, in which case we'd still see the Rams, but it would be at home in Philly for the NFC Championship game.
Joe 420 says he has the under 45 in Eagles Niners.
I mean, I don't hate that. I mean, I just gave out the Eagles team total under. The 49ers team total is 18.5. I would 20.5 is -155. That's pushing it a little bit, but like, I don't see how the Niners score a ton of points on us. Our defense is fresh and didn't play last week for the most part and is really good.
Mid-major, Matt, I appreciate you coming in between segments of your radio show. That is so nice of you. You gave us college football. You gave us NFL. You do it all, Matt. Thanks so much. As always, we'll see you next week.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Make sure to give him a follow over at Mid-Major Matt. He literally pre-recorded a segment for his radio show so that he could hop on here during that pre-recorded segment. So nice of him. I've got NBA props for tonight. I've also got NFL props for the weekend. Prop Queen edges in the NBA and early look at NFL props for the weekend. Now, I don't have a graphic for the NBA props, so we're just going to talk about them. Starting with, so I avoided any of the large spreads. Bye-bye large spreads. No large spreads for me. Starting with Philly at Orlando. The Sixers laying 3.5 in Orlando. Total 226.5. Jalen Suggs is out. Franz Wagner's out. Joel Embiid got upgraded to probable. I'm going to take advantage of the Magic injuries. Desmond Bane, over 19.5 points. He's averaging 4 more points a game at home without Franz Wagner and without Jalen Suggs. Bane's put up 15, 24, and 31 points in those spots. Overall this year, Bane's averaging 3 points more per game at home. The Magic faced the Sixers in Philly on November 25th. Bane only had 15 points. But in his previous 2 meetings with the Sixers in October and a game last year, he had at least 21. So now that Bane is at home, I like Bane over 19.5 points in this game. Michael Porter Jr. under 6.5 rebounds. Against teams that are top 10 in rebounds allowed, he's averaging 5.9. The Clippers allowed the 8th least rebounds per game. Only 42% of small forwards have gone over their rebound prop this year against the Clippers, and in the last 10. Michael Porter Jr. has gone under 6.5 rebounds in 5 straight against the Clippers. That same game between the Clippers and the Nets, John Collins, the Clippers power forward, under 15.5 points. Collins' home road split's very drastic. He's averaging 12 points on the road this year. He's gone under John Collins, his points prop, 72% of games on the road this year. When facing a team that's a top 10 defense, only averaging just under 14 points a game. And on the road, that number drops down to just under 13 points a game. Brooklyn's actually allowed the 9th least points per game this year, and 61% of the power forwards they faced went under their points props. 67% went under in the last 10. John Collins under 15.5 points. If you want to take advantage of the Memphis Grizzlies with an OKC team coming in that has nobody, SGA out, Chet Holmgren out, Isaiah Hartenstein's out, you could look to the center for Memphis, Jock Landale. He's gone over 11.5 points, averaging 13 points a game at home without Ja Morant. Went over in 4 of 7. OKC is allowing 63% of their centers in the last 10 games that they faced to go over their points prop. With Chet and Hartenstein out, it's good for him. And Landale also, in 8 straight games without Ja Morant, has gone over 7.5 rebounds. That number is 7.5 tonight. So he's gone over in 8 straight without Ja Morant. Whatever correlation that is, but it is a trend. OKC small forward Lou Dort over 2.5 threes is plus 120 if you want a nice little value play. He's gone over in 6 of his last 7 road games. Dort's averaging 1 more 3 per game on the road, and in his last 2 games, they were at home. So he didn't go over, but again, goes over more on the road. With all the injuries, Dort should have more opportunities too. And Memphis is allowing the 5th most 3s per game. Knicks Suns, Knicks laying 1 on the road. Cullen Gillespie over 2.5 threes. He's actually been crushing it from outside. Gillespie for Phoenix. He's averaging just under 4 threes a game this year when up against the bottom 10 perimeter defense. At home, he averages about 3 threes per game. The Knicks allow the 3rd most 3s per game. So I'd look to Gillespie over 2.5 threes at home against the Knicks. We're going to stick with the cat trend. I am a little worried about it tonight, I will be honest, because the number already dropped, so the book's catching on. 32.5 dropped to 31. It was 32.5 2 days ago. Today's prop's 31.5. But I'll tell you the trend again. Now it's 5 of the last 7 games without Josh Hart. Karl Anthony Towns has averaged 29.6 points plus rebounds. Against teams top 10 in points and rebounds allowed, he's averaging 28 points plus rebounds. In all 4 of the 6 games without Josh Hart against the Suns, Cat went under. Oh, sorry, not all. In 4 of 6 games without Josh Hart against the Suns, Cat's gone under 31.5 points plus rebounds. And then for the Houston and Portland game, Alperen Şengün is out for the Houston Rockets. These 2 teams just played each other on Wednesday night. Portland ended up winning 103-102. You guys know, when something happens in game 1, I fade it the next day. But if something doesn't happen in game 1, then I like to back it in the next game. Jabari Smith Jr. Jabari Smith Jr. had a terrible game on Wednesday night. 6 points, 4 rebounds. But yet, forwards are having a lot of success against Portland, especially power forwards. Jabari Smith Jr. is averaging 22.5 points plus rebounds. going over in 4 of 6 games without his center, Alperon Şengün. Terry Eason had a big game. Kevin Durant had a big game on Wednesday. If you're going to change up any kind of play, if you're going to change up the way you're going to approach the second game of a same team back-to-back, obviously it was 2 days ago, Portland's allowing the 8th most points per game this year. They're not that big, and Jeremy Grant's still out. Jabari Smith Jr. over points and rebounds in this rematch. I love him in a rematch game. Gillespie under 4.5 assists with Allen, J. Main said. I know I was looking at Grayson Allen threes too, but Gillespie's threes have been really good on the road. Let me see what else you guys are saying. The Panthers saying. Okay. So those are my NBA props for tonight. Let's talk prop queen edges in the NFL. Wild card weekend starting tomorrow. Early looks. Starting with Bryce Young over 29.5 pass attempt. Oh, why did I say? Sorry, that is wrong. I like his over completions. I don't know why I said over pass attempts in that graphic. I also made this graphic on like Monday, and I just copy pasted it because I didn't have time to make a graphic. But I think I like his completions more. Hold on, let me just get the guide up. Need the prop queen guide. Oh, here it is. I'll explain both props, but... And remember, you guys could get access to the prop queen guide. I'll show it to you real quick. Nope, that's the cheat sheet. You get the cheat sheet for free, by the way. The NFL cheat sheet is on thepropqueen.com, or you could go to my Instagram and comment cheat sheet on the video, comment wildcard on my Prop Queen Sports Instagram video, and you'll be able to get the cheat sheet sent to your email. So that's the free version if you just want the free version. But then there's also your computer, upload file. Betting guide. This thing's a big one, so nope, too big. File's too big to share, so can't share it. But this Prop Queen betting guide is available on the Prop Queen newsletter. It has literally all this information in it, like I have on Bryce Young. I'll just show you. I'll snapshot it and show you a picture of the slide. Everything that I'm saying is in the guide, so you can always have it sent straight to your email if that helps. But like, for example, this is Bryce Young. You could look to his over pass completions or attempts. I guess both do work. Bryce Young over completions. He's averaging 20 completions a game when up against the team bottom 10 in completions allowed. The Rams, they allowed the 9th most completions per game, 22 per game, in fact. Bryce Young only had 15 completions in the upset over the Rams on November 30th. And yet, this number is up to 18.5. The Rams have allowed quarterbacks 59% to go over their completions prop this year. They allow the 7th most pass attempts per game as well at 34.5. 59% went over their pass attempt props. And Bryce Young's averaging 32 pass attempts a game when up against the team bottom 10 in pass attempts allowed. So you could be looking to the Bryce Young pass attempts or completions over tomorrow. Teteroa McMillan, his longest reception. The Rams have been struggling this year when up against wide receivers. They have been they're bottom 10 in receiving yards allowed to wide receivers. And Teteroa McMillan is the deep threat of this team. He is double digits, 20-yard plus gains. So you could look to Teteroa McMillan to expose some kind of blown coverage by the Rams and their secondary. Caleb Williams under 12.5 yards for his longest rush. I don't want to do rushing yards because Caleb Williams does run the ball more at home and he runs the ball better at home. But he's getting a Packers D that allows the 5th least rushing yards per game to quarterbacks. 67% of quarterbacks this year went under their longest rush prop. So with Caleb Williams at home, where he runs the ball more, I'm not going to go for quantity, but I'll go for quality runs. And he's averaging 10 yards per longest rush when facing teams top 10 in rushing yards allowed against quarterbacks. So I'm going to go with the under on the longest rush for Caleb Williams and say that the Packers do a good job at containing him in the ground, not getting too large of a gain at once. Trevor Lawrence under his passing yards up against the Buffalo Bills. I mentioned this one multiple times this week because we're getting probably what's not even that high of a number, but already inflated because he faced Indy, the Jets, and the Titans his last 3 games. So yeah, any of us should throw for 250 plus against those 3. But against the top 10 pass D, Lawrence is only averaging 188.5 for passing yards per game. So against the Buffalo D, that is allowing the least passing yards per game, 82%. 82% of quarterbacks have gone under their passing yards prop this year against the Bills. So Trevor Lawrence under passing yards, because the only way the Jags should win this game is if they run the football on the Bills, tire down that defense, and use Travis Etienne. Brenton Strange under 35.5 receiving yards. I love Brenton Strange. He made me money last week. I love Brenton Strange. However, this is a horrible matchup for Brenton Strange, who's getting one of the best defenses in the league against the tight end. 7th least receiving yard, wrong. Buffalo has allowed the least receiving yards per game to tight ends. Though at least. They are the best, the Bills are the best defense in the league against tight ends. 67% of tight ends have gone under their receiving yard prop against this Bills D. And Brenton Strange has only faced one good defense this year that's top 10 against tight ends. In fact, he's averaging 7 receiving yards less per game at home. So I would fade Brenton Strange this weekend after he did hit for us last week. Josh Allen over pass attempts, 30.5. He's averaging 33 pass attempts a game when facing teams that are bottom 10 in pass attempts allowed. Jacksonville allows the most pass attempts per game. 59% of quarterbacks went over. It's a close game, close spread, 1.5. So if it is a close game, Josh Allen should be trying to throw the football more. Saquon Barkley over his receiving yards prop. Saquon Barkley, 13.5. This number is very low for a player averaging 19 receiving yards a game when at home, and just about the same number in his 4 home playoff games. Saquon Barkley against teams bottom 10 in receiving yards allowed to running backs, 29 receiving yards this year. And the 49ers allowed the 10th most receiving yards per game to running backs. I know that Mid-Major Matt said that he was going to attack with Dallas Goedert because of the linebackers being out. But the linebackers being out for the 49ers also helped Saquon Barkley in the passing game. So I would go look at Saquon. George Kittle under receiving yards. You guys know I love Kittle in prime time, but at home. This game's on the road in Philly against the second best defense against tight ends. 71% of tight ends have gone under their longest reception prop against Philly. 68% of tight ends went under their receiving yards prop against Philly. He's gone under his receiving yards prop in 2 of 3 games against the Eagles. Kittle against teams top 10 against tight ends, averaging 53 receiving yards a game, 16 yards per longest reception, which is all under his 60.5 receiving yards, under his 21.5 yards per longest reception. Drake May under his completions. Against teams top 10 in completions allowed, Drake May is only averaging 18 completions a game. Chargers, 3rd least completions per game allowed. 76% of quarterbacks went under this season, and 90% of the last 10 went under. He's making his NFL postseason debut, Drake May, against an experienced defense in the Chargers, led by Khalil Mack, Denzel Perriman, head coach, and Jim Harbaugh. So I'd be worried about Drake May in his NFL playoff debut hitting some completions, making some completions. Justin Herbert under his passing yards. Herbert against teams top 10 against the pass, only averaging 203 passing yards a game this year. He's averaging 20 passing yards less per game on the road this season. The Patriots, 9th least passing yards per game allowed to quarterbacks. 9 of the last 10 have gone under their passing yards prop this year when facing this Chargers defense. So I'd be looking at the under on Herbert passing yards. Pat Freiermuth on Monday Night Football should get lost in the playbook. DK Metcalf's back, Aaron Rodgers' favorite target. Pat Freiermuth is also getting a horrible matchup since Houston allows the 7th least receiving yards per game to tight ends. So with Freiermuth against top 10 defenses against tight ends, Freiermuth's only averaging 18 receiving yards a game this year. So I'd look at that under. And then Dalton Schultz. Oh, I love Dalton Schultz. Over his receiving yards. Pittsburgh allows the 5th most receiving yards per game to tight ends, and Dalton Schultz has the experience in the playoffs. against teams bottom 10 against tight ends this year, Schultz is averaging 67 receiving yards a game. Even on the road, that number is 64 receiving yards per game. His longest reception, he averages 23 yards per longest reception, 16 when he's on the road. So I love Dalton Schultz over his receiving yards this weekend as well. Love passing yards over. We could look to props.cash. Share screen. Props.cash. Let's look. NFL. And remember, guys, you can use props.cash using promo code PropQueen. You get 50% off your first month if you want to try it out for the playoffs. You get 50% off this month using it for the playoffs if you use promo code PropQueen. You can see all of these. Let's just look at first Jordan Love against Chicago. 4 of 6 went over. He's averaging 225 passing yards per game against the Bears. 2025 on the road against the division. 1 and 2. Against the division overall this year, Jordan Love, 2 of 5. We could go playoffs, last 10, 212. So do with that info as you may. Nothing fully stands out there. Also, let's see quarterbacks. So 60% of the last 10 quarterbacks have gone over their prop against the Bears. 53% overall this year. Jared Goff went over, Purdy went over, Love went under last game and over the first game. But again, the first game was the home game, right? So at home, Jordan Love averaging 223. On the road, 227. I don't hate it, Jose. I don't hate it. But it's okay. It's not one of the ones that stood out to me, but it's okay. Let me see what else I had in here on Jordan Love. Did I have any props on Jordan Love? Jalen Hurts. No, I only had Bears props in that game. Nothing. I hate the Packers because you can't handicap their receivers. The receivers are just all over the place. It could be anyone's game. They're all very identical. And they don't really have tight ends anymore. So, yeah, I didn't really bet anything Jordan Love, but I don't hate it. Herbert scares me because they'll be playing from behind. I see what you think of that game. I think Ravens are going after Kubiak after seeing how good McDonald's was this season. Listen, I know they have history with Kubiak because Gary was great for us and won us a Super Bowl, but we'll see. I really hope that they have a defensive coach. I really want the Ravens to get a defensive coach, but that's not my problem. My problem is winning bets this weekend in the NFL. Royal Law? Let me guess. Let me think. Royal Lock, best bets. Royal Lock of the day. I really like Desmond Bane over 19.5 points. So many injuries on the Magic, and Bane's actually shooting better when he's at home. 3 points more per game at home. Bane's averaging 4 more points per game at home without Franz Wagner and Jalen Suggs. These two just faced each other on November 25th, and Bane only had 15 points, and this number's still 19.5. He's had good history against the Sixers, putting up at least 21 points in 2 of the last 3 games. So I'd look to Bane points tonight. John Collins' numbers really stand out to take an under against Brooklyn. Again, his home road split's very drastic, averaging only 13 points a game this year when facing a top 10 defense on the road, and averaging 12 points per game on the road this year, going under his points prop of 72% of the time on the road. What else do I like tonight? And I guess Jabari Smith. Those are my 3 in the NBA. Jabari Smith over 21.5 points in rebounds. He's averaging 22.5 points plus rebounds, going over in 4 of 6 games without Alperon Şengün. Coming off a terrible game against Portland 2 nights ago, he should bounce back against one of the worst defenses in the NBA. So those are my 3 favorite NBA props tonight. In the NFL, there's so many. I have to bet some of these, like more of these. There's so many I didn't even name yet. NFL favorite bets. I really like the Saquon over receiving yards. I think that's how they'll attack the injuries of the 49ers linebackers, especially because he's averaging 29 receiving yards a game this year against teams bottom 10 in receiving yards allowed to running backs. I like Drake May under completions, only averaging 18 completions a game when he is against the team top 10 in completions allowed. Chargers 3rd least completions per game allowed this year with 9 of the last 10 going under. Pat Freiermuth under I like too because he has to face Houston, who's good against tight ends this year, and DK Metcalf's back. And that Brenton Strange under also is intriguing to me. One I didn't mention was also Rico Dowdle over receiving yards, 12.5. The Rams allow the 5th most receiving yards per game to running backs. And Dowdle's averaging just under 24 receiving yards a game this year when facing a team that's top 10 or bottom 10 in receiving yards allowed to running backs. Dowdle also, his longest reception prop was only 8.5, and he's averaging 15 yards per longest reception against teams bottom 10 in receiving yards allowed to running backs. So you could look to Dowdle over his receiving yards as well. I don't like the Collins points. Oh, sorry, John Collins, you're saying. John Collins lines 14.5. What did I say? I looked it up on Pickett. 15.5. Oh, it went down to 14.5. Yeah, I saw 15.5 on Pickett earlier today. So yeah, it's dropping. Got to get ahead of the line. I should have bet it. I was so busy today, I didn't even bet it yet. I have to bet everything. And also, I forgot to tell you guys, Pickett just gave me a new deal. You get 10% off of Pickett if you use Pickett Pro, if you use promo code PropQueen. Pickett is free to use. Use promo code PropQueen. You sync your sports book and you can track your bets. But Pickett Pro, you can only sign up doing on the computer. You can't use the app to sign up for Pickett Pro. So if you go on the computer, you sign up for Pickett Pro, you'll get 10% off using promo code PropQueen. Why should you pay for Pickett? Well, I didn't even realize all the features that were different because I've had Pickett Pro for so long. You could use the desktop version, which is what I show you, and I always handicap games on the computer, so it makes it easy to have it on the desktop. You also, which is obviously important if you do SGPs, you can see where to bet the best SGP, which you can't get on free Pickett. So on paid Pickett Pro, if you do SGPs a lot, it will tell you exactly where to bet your SGP at the best price. So I thought that was really interesting too. So definitely some really cool features over on the Pickett Pro side of things. So definitely go check it out using promo code PropQueen to get 10% off. And good luck to all your Splash Sports contest entries. Thanks, guys, if you did sign up. We filled 2 contests, $50K on the line for Survivor. Really excited for it. I have 5 entries in each. Hopefully I could win one. I really need the money. Starting Prop Queen's been expensive. I hope someone else also who watches this show wins. I don't want to see someone who doesn't watch this show win. That would suck. So if you watch the show, good luck. Jared Block likes Houston. Tom picked the Packers. Mark Zinno picked the Patriots, and Matt picked the Eagles. So those are their Survivor entries. All I need is you to tell me what to bet, my queen. You're so funny. Sir Mackie loves pie. I am going to release the newsletter now, but you guys got it all. NBA props for tonight, NFL. Remember, you could get the guide with all this information. And there's more props. I didn't even tell you all of them. There are more props in the prop guide. It is literally every offensive player prop and a handicap of each of the props. It's not picks. It's not like, oh, here are my picks for the weekend. It's literally me giving you research on every prop and prop edge that stands out. So check out the Prop Queen betting guide. If you're a premium subscriber to the newsletter, you get it included in your subscription. If not, for $8.99, you can buy that guide. And it literally has a slide of like every player and their props for every team and every game. So you could see the analysis of if it's a good over, a good under, if you should stay away, why. Giving you explanations for everything is what I think is best. So I love to give you guys good research. I think it's hard to find these days. We have so many influencers out there that just like to dance around and give you bets. So I just try to give you good info so you guys could win your bets. Thanks to Mid-Major Matt for coming on the show today. Subscribe and like on the YouTube channel. That part's free. Prop Queen Media. It helps. I hope you all have a very good, profitable weekend. I will see you all on Monday here on the Prop Queen Pod, 5 p.m. Eastern Time.